Welcome to the Boom Boom Room, y'all, where there's no topic too big or small, where we talk about it all. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Boom Boom Room. I have a super special guest here with me. I got Anthony, the hair metal guru. What's up, Anthony? Man, I'm sure glad you're here. It's been a long time coming to get your ass in
man.
here. You know?
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, and we've been chatting in my videos and on Facebook for a long time.
Yeah.
And glad that you got this thing rolling, and glad that I could come on because you've been supporting my stuff forever. And so if I can support your stuff, I definitely will.
I appreciate it, man. I know it up, I'm low on the totem pole as far as subscribers, but I really enjoy your channel, man. I'm telling you, you got some good shit. You've interviewed a lot of cool people and stuff, and I support you. Looky here, I got your shirt on.
Yeah.
That's a badass shirt. Did you design that? I mean, how did you?
So I was on Twitter, on X, and there is Grok is like AI,
Yeah.
That's Grok is the X AI, and I was fucking around on there, and so I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
I asked it to create a logo for me, and we went through a little bit of trial and error, and I was like, I wanted to incorporate a little bit of my military background.
Yeah.
So had to add so initially there was like this dude, but then had to add the M16 and the eagle and the flag, and just a little bit of trial and error. That's how it came about. So
that's a badass one, man. Hey, thank you for your service too, Anthony. I got a lot of respect for people that's in the military. My dad was in the Navy. He was a air traffic controlman, during the Vietnam War. But I got a lot of respect. But thank you for your service. But your channel's growing. It really is, man.
Yeah.
I think when I started watching you, I think you were under 1,000. I think about 2 years ago. I'm not for sure. Where was you sitting at about 2 years ago?
The channel actually isn't 2 years old yet. It's going to be 2 years old in June.
Yeah.
So I started it in June of 23.
Okay.
So in a few months it'll hit 2 years old. But I mean, I was just like you. I was like, fuck. How do I do this?
Yeah.
How do you fucking start a YouTube channel? And and people will say, hey, the first thing you have to do is fucking hit record and get yourself on tape. But had no clue what I was doing, didn't know how to edit and anything. But so the very first video I did was I ranked the Warrant albums, and I look back on it now and I'm like, oh dude, but I mean, we all start somewhere, and then it started to. You're right. It started to kind of started growing and started getting some interviews, and that really helped.
Yeah.
Getting a few 80s rock stars to come on, and I think one thing that I really think has helped the channel is the amount, like the guests that I have on. Brian from the Hairband Basement, Patrick, Jeremy, Ryan, Metal Mike. I mean, all these, because you can be entertaining by yourself, but man, when you can bounce shit off people, I mean, so anyway, I just want to give those guys a shout out because I think today we just hit 5,550 subscribers, which, I mean, when I started it, I always told people, I was like, well, maybe I'll get a few hundred people who really like hair metal, and maybe they'll sit and listen to me talk about this shit. So to get to where it's gone today is just beyond what I ever thought it would. So
I think that when we get our age, around later 40s, early 50s, you get that nostalgia, and you listen to music, and to me music is feeling, it's memories, because there's some songs, dude, I cannot listen to. They just take me back, and and I relive that memory all over again. And there's some songs I listen to that makes me smile and remember when I was young and certain happy times. But and I'm glad, because it seems like me, hair metal, and stuff like that's kind of coming back, you know what I mean? it's to me, it's just making another round.
I think you see all these. Well, I mean, there's a ton of
Yeah.
channels popping up, and I just before I got on with you was doing a video with a couple other guys, and we were talking about our view of seeing grunge happen,
Yeah.
seeing grunge come in and kind of take out, the hair metal
Yeah.
scene that we all loved. But when we started talking about now and the like you said, the nostalgia
Yeah.
for it, hair metal was all about like having a blast and having a good time. And were there some songs that dealt with difficult topics or set relationship shit? Yes, there was. But we associate it with, man, being rock stars and
Yeah.
partying and having fun. So there's no, we all want, who doesn't want to go back to those good times? I don't really sense a lot of nostalgia for grunge,
Yeah.
because grunge was all about fucking being miserable and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe your home life wasn't great, and who wants to, who has nostalgia for that? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who love
Yeah.
grunge, but it just seems to be different with hair metal, and
Hmm.
and so to see all these people talking about it and wanting to relive it is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm 48. I think you're about my older brother's age, and I remember as a kid, I was like 12 years old, and the first thing I listened to, I think it was Love Gun.
You're right,
So
right?
I'm wearing Kiss shirts, in school, to me in middle school, and the teachers are just looking at me, and Ted Nugent, but they got me into the metal, to the hair metal, and I am not gonna lie, I was a teenager, and the grunge, I did listen to some of it,
Sure, sure.
and there was some bands that
There was
I
some good
really
stuff.
liked, because it was there. I mean, there was some damn good bands to me, but like you said, it went down a different path, a different feeling. Instead of the feel good party, and
Yep.
it was all dark shit. Yeah, I mean,
The only thing I didn't like about, I mean, I wasn't a huge grunge fan. I
yeah,
liked some Stone Temple Pilots. I
yeah,
liked some Alice in Chains. I never really got into Soundgarden,
yeah,
but it was when the grunge bands started being okay with shitting on hair metal.
yeah,
When they started saying, oh, hair metal wasn't real, and like it was real to me. So when grunge came in, I was like, oh, okay, here's another kind of hard rock or metal that like, just like we had thrash, we had
yeah.
glam, we had Metallica, you had Poison, you had Iron Maiden.
Hmm.
We just thought that grunge was going to be like another, but when it eventually you started to have to make a choice, like
Yeah,
you either, if you liked grunge, you were not supposed to like glam, and I give some credit to that, to the grunge bands shitting on hair metal.
yeah,
But if you remember when Beavis and Butthead came out
yeah.
and Stewart
Shit.
was wearing a Winger shirt, in a way it was saying, hey, if you like Winger or bands like that, we're basically saying you're a Stewart.
Yeah.
And I really think a lot of people kind of took that to heart.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I remember because I like Winger. I was a Winger
Yeah.
fan, and
Hell
it,
yeah.
it made me sick, dude. I remember looking back at it saying, "Why is that kid? You're that kid that if you're
Yeah.
a Winger fan, you're him. I mean,
Yes.
and I
Exactly.
think that the culture, to me, it just transforms people's minds. They try to move. Everybody moves with the flow and stuff like that, and it's what
Right.
they wanted to be hot, and they wanted grunge. They just pushed the hair metal out. It was just weird, that change. And then, then you go to the 2000s, with the new metal, I guess you want to call it, or,
Yep.
there's always a change. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even listen to the new music now these days. I don't
Yeah.
even at all. I mean, it's sad, but like my son, he's in the August Burns Red. He's seen them 8 times in concert. He plays their music. That's a cool band, but
Yeah.
there's nothing that I can relate to. I
Yeah.
don't, at all in the modern, what they're playing now. I just cannot relate to it. But
Yeah.
but your channel, I mean, what made you start your channel, Anthony? I mean, how did that happen?
That's a great question, and I think I have the answer. Is
Hmm.
when I was younger, I always wanted to be in a band, but I never learned. I was in a really small high school. There was like no real music program.
Yeah.
My parents weren't the kind of people who were like, "Hey, let's get you a guitar and get you lessons." There was 300 people in my hometown, so I don't even know if there was a place that you could have gotten guitar lessons. And so I thought, well, maybe I can sing. And my voice is like really fucking mediocre, so I never got to sing, so I never got into a band. Well, then when I went to college, my first thought was to go into like TV and maybe broadcasting. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get into radio
Yeah.
and I'll be so anyway, I always wanted to be involved in music. Um, when the 2000s started coming around and we started getting the internet,
Yeah.
I, I did occasionally write some art. Like I wrote a couple articles for Sleaze Rocks. I'm a pretty decent, I was a high school English teacher for
Hmm.
12 years. Um, so I was a pretty decent writer, but it just, it seemed like it took forever. You had to contact these places, see
Yeah.
if they would accept what you did. Then you had to sit and write it, and it was like just this big long process. And I was so, I just had all these other things going on, so I just kind of let it fall by the wayside. But then, and I'll give, Metal Mike from the 80s Glam
Hmm.
Metal Cast has become a really good friend of mine. He had a YouTube channel, and I was like, fuck, I used to watch
Yeah.
his videos, and I was like, he just sits and talks about music. I'm like, why,
Yeah.
why couldn't I do that? I could do that, right? So it just, I put it off for a while because, you're like, how am I going to do it? What am I going to talk about? Is anybody going to watch it? I'm not going to have any subscribers. And then, eventually I was just, all right, kind of watched a couple YouTube videos on how to do some basic editing and how to fucking upload videos and all that. And so that was it. It was
Yeah.
just I've always music has just been different for me. I've always been just kind of, I mean, look at my house.
I know. I know.
Covered in music,
Yeah.
posters,
That's gnarly. Yeah.
ads. I mean, it just went crazy. And that kind of started when the pandemic hit and
Yeah.
we're all locked down. I had all these and I've just been a music junkie
Yeah.
ever, and I was like, how am I gonna get involved in music, and so that's how the
Yeah.
channel started.
Yeah, man. I look back there. You got bands I love, Warrant, love, hate. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted always wanted that dog eat dog tattooed on me. So if I could ever have a tattoo, it'd be that
Yeah.
album cover, man.
Right.
That album is wow.
Oh,
It's something else, dude.
yeah.
That's one of my favorites. He
And
was a
and
hell of a songwriter.
unfortunately, it
Yeah,
didn't matter what most of those bands did in 1992 to 1995.
hmm,
MTV wasn't going to play it, radio wasn't going to play it, and some of my favorite albums of all time came out during those grunge years and didn't sell for shit. And
yeah,
Warrant's Dog Eat Dog is probably number one
yeah,
among them. But there was a ton of great albums that,
yeah.
but because these bands were associated with hair metal, it was just like, nope, we're not going to give it a chance.
Well, I don't know what kind of question, how you gonna answer this, but if you could interview one person to have on there, who would it be right now that's alive?
That's a great question. So I find so
Yeah,
I'm probably most known for like some of my biggest videos are where I talked about Warrant and Janie Lane.
yeah,
Um, and so I got to hang out. I got to meet the band many
mhm,
times. Got to hang out on the tour bus. I have a couple. I saw red tattooed
oh
here,
yeah,
and I have Stronger Now from the
yeah,
Ultraphobic album. So those tattoos got me into some places that a small town North Dakota kid,
yeah,
hanging out backstage, drinking with the band, hanging out on the tour bus. So anyway, so I've
yeah,
just been a Warrant diehard forever. Well, I interviewed Bobby Borg, who was in the band for about 3 years.
yeah,
He played on the Belly to Belly album, played on their live album that came out in '97. So so I did get to hear a little bit about, Warrant during the mid 90s, which is awesome because
Yeah.
that's the period where I saw them and hung out with them a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but I would love to interview, Eric Turner,
Yeah.
just one of the original Warrant members, maybe Jerry Dixon, and I would love to be able to just ask anything that I wanted. I'd love to hear about the club scene
Uh-huh.
and them building a following. I'd love to hear about what it was like during the glory days of the Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich Cherry Pie. And then I really do want to know about the downfall. I want to know what it was like,
Yeah.
when Cheney's drinking started to get out of control. And this interview with Bobby Borg is doing really well, and I think
Yeah.
part of that is because he did kind of let us behind the curtain and kind of talked about,
Yeah.
like seeing that like he said, he told Janie Lane, you're going to be dead in 10
Yeah.
years. And I think a lot of, if you're a true fan, you really want to know like
Yeah.
some of those behind the scenes things, like what led to him dying at 47.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'd love to be able to
Yeah.
just be able to talk about the entire history of that band and what it was like when things started getting bad. I'd like to know.
See, that's why I like watching you, man. You're genuine. When you talk, you just be yourself. It's like if I met you and, freaking a chili, sit down and eat a burger, kick it, talk about things, you can
Thank you.
relate to you. I
Thank
can
you.
relate to you.
Um, I really do appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to say about it, but I mean I've just tried to get to talk about the stuff that I want to know about and
Yeah.
ask about the stuff that I think, a
Yeah.
fan of this music wants, and that's what I'm just a fan. Um, but it means a lot that
Yeah.
you would say that because I'm glad people feel that way, that they can relate to what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 12 or 13, like I said, I'm 48 now, and I think about, dude, they were like gods to me.
Oh yeah, of
Warren,
course.
I remember when I got Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich. I remember, I don't know the date, but I remember the day, what I was doing, where
Yeah.
I bought it, had
Yep.
my little, Walkman, and I would go to sleep every night listening to that album
Yep.
over and over again. I was just
Yep.
fascinated. I had posters all over my walls,
Yep.
those dudes were gods, but those are probably
Of course.
one of my probably in my top five bands. Warren is.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a songwriter. Uh, Man, this is a question here, dude. I don't know if you want to answer. What would be your top three favorite bands of all time?
Mm.
That's a hard question, dude.
The super hard because and I do listen to a lot of
Yeah.
stuff outside of hair metal, so there are probably albums by bands that people have on the channel have never heard of.
Yeah.
That there was a band from Minneapolis called the Gear Daddies. They're kind of actually like an alternative country band,
Yeah.
but I'm a recovering alcoholic, and their lyrics were always just a lot about drinking
Yeah.
and stuff that I just related to. But I think so. First, if I was gonna say my favorite hair metal bands, I mean
Yeah.
Warrant would
Yeah.
would be right up there. I've always been, they're not hair metal, but AC/DC has
Yeah.
been one of my favorite bands of all time. And like one of the first albums I remember getting into was Kiss's Love Gun.
Oh yeah. Me
And
too.
in fact, the first band, like I remember watching Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. I was
Yeah.
probably 6 years old, and the day after I watched it, I went to school and I told my teacher, I'm like, "Yeah, I watched this movie, Kiss meets the Phantom," and I'm like, to me, Kiss weren't even a band; they were like superheroes.
Yeah.
I remember that teacher going, "Well, Kiss stands for Knights in Satan's Service,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
So I've always my house is full of Kiss shit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I could talk about bands for days, but those are three that I really.
Well, I'll tell you, band I really like too, and I know I should know his name, the lead singer of Wasp, but I like
Blackie Lawless.
Yeah, there you go, Blackie Lawless.
Yep.
I've been hearing him talk a little bit, some speeches, and
Yeah.
I like some of the stuff he says.
Same. And and when you say that, it
Yeah.
remind like I haven't done a video on Wasp.
Yeah.
They've been mentioned in videos like
Yeah.
top albums of certain years, but I need to do a Wasp video at some point. So
Because when I watched him lately, get up there and talk like back then when I was a kid, he's like scary, Blackie Lawless and badass, when you're young, which he
I,
still is. But then when I see him talk like that, it kind of puts you in a different frame of mind, when you
right.
see somebody, talking and like that. But is there any albums lately that you've bought that surprised you how they sound? Any hair metal,
Uh,
newer
I
albums?
just did a video on 5 hair metal albums
Uh-huh.
that I didn't get into until, like from back in the day that maybe you just,
Uh-huh.
you passed them by, maybe you heard a song, you didn't like it, so you put it away. But I interviewed Bobby Borg.
Uh-huh.
He was in a band called Beggars and Thieves
Yep.
that put out an album in 1990, and they put out other albums, but that was their debut. I've really gotten into that album a lot lately. Um, a band that put out an album in 2000, they're called Betty Blowtorch.
Never heard
It's
of
all
that.
these girls,
Yeah.
and the singer actually died in 2001 in a car crash.
Hmm.
They put out an album called Are You Man Enough, and they're kind of a punk slash
Yeah.
metal band. Really gotten into that album a lot. And I'm always searching out new albums
Hmm.
or stuff that I never got into back in the day. Like I cannot just sit and listen to the same shit that I listened to back in
Yeah.
the 80s. Like I'm always searching out either bands I didn't discover back then. I'm looking for new bands. I listen to a lot of punk rock.
Yeah.
There are some bands that I've gotten into over the last couple of years. A band called The Right Here out of Minneapolis. They're kind of a punk rock band. A band that I've been listening to a ton for the last 10 years is a band called Nothington. They're a punk band from
I had a notification there. All right.
Oh,
Sorry.
sure.
Sorry about that. Somebody subscribed to my gaming channel and it goes off on my OBS.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Sorry
Sure.
about that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't hear. But
problem.
but yeah, man, there's a lot. I mean, there's music I listen to besides hair metal. I know
Sure.
we all do. But
Yep.
I mean, as far as my favorite genre of music, it's 100%, hair metal.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
it's what I was listening to when I grew up, so it
Uh-huh.
just, it hits music that you get into when you're a teenager just hits differently
It does.
because it really gets you right here,
Yeah, it does. I mean, 'cause
So,
you're growing up, you're that age of discovering new things and
yes.
new feelings, horny as a
Yes.
snake, and walking around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, walking around on a chubby wherever you go. And,
Hell yeah. And you're maybe starting to experiment.
Yeah.
You're drinking a little bit,
Mhm.
and the music that you were listening to when you were first partying with your
Yeah.
buddies. I mean that just those times never leave you. I mean,
No,
shit.
because I look back and the times that I was partying, drinking, and doing drugs, I had fun. But I look back, it really
Yeah.
wasn't fun. I could have had more fun if I was sober.
Yeah.
And it was. I'm glad,
Yeah.
that you, got your sobriety. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a compliment, man. Because a lot of, excuse me, a lot of people don't come out of that. You know what I mean? There's a
Yep.
lot of people, and
There's a lot of people in my family have not come out of it.
yeah. Yeah.
For some, I went to Iraq in 2003. I was about 6'3", 260 pounds.
Dang.
I smoked a pack a day. I was
Yeah.
drinking till I blacked out, all the time. And luckily, when I was overseas, well, number one,
Mhm.
we couldn't drink.
Yeah.
If you got in big trouble. So I didn't. It wasn't like I was so addicted that I was shaking and I needed to go to the
Mhm.
hospital. But I drank all the time. So when I was sober for that year, I lost all this weight and just started. I was like, holy shit!
Mhm.
Like I realized that drinking had just sapped my confidence.
Yeah.
You know, like in the early years when you party, you know, but when it started to take control, I completely lost my confidence. I looked like hell.
Yeah.
And when I was overseas, I was like, holy fuck. I'm actually like I actually kind of like being in Iraq. Everybody here hates it. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, I feel better than I
Yeah.
have in years. And and so I started making all these plans. I was like, man, when I go home, I'm gonna go back to college. I was a college dropout.
Yeah.
I had a daughter. I'm like, I'm gonna be a better father and all this shit. And I went home and started drinking again, thinking, well,
Yeah.
now I'm gonna do it responsibly. And in 2 months, I was right back to where I was. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna die this way. Like
Yeah.
I cannot drink and live life. I will never accomplish anything. So in the summer of 2000, it was actually my sobriety date is July 4th, 2004. And that
Yeah.
August, I went to treatment. I went to treatment at the VA, the Veterans Hospital. And that August, I went back to college. I was 31. I lived in the dorms for 2 years, got my teaching degree, and became an Army officer. And like all the good shit that happened in my life would have never happened if I was
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you
yeah.
miss really. If you look back, I've missed a lot, you know, and
Oh,
I mean, even though you can be responsible, you know, I was responsible addict. You know what I mean? I took care of my business and everything, but it was just killing my own self, you know. And
yep.
to me, you're like a zombie. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on, and you're just
Yep.
walking through life like fucking walking dead. It's not worth it. You know, you miss a lot in life. You know, you miss a whole lot. But I seen the other day you had Ricky Rocket on there, man.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That was
Oh.
he was one of my heroes. You know, I've always loved Ricky Rocket Poison, man. That's
I was
something to have
shocked
him.
that I even got that because
Yeah.
it's not like Poison do a ton of interviews.
Yeah.
But how that actually happened is I interviewed Mark Kendall from Great White,
Uh-huh.
and that kind of got set up talking on X or
Yeah.
Twitter. And he was like, well, contact my publicist and I'll come on. So I contact his publicist. I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to schedule an interview with Mark Kendall. And she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. Here, send me the Zoom link. And then she goes, oh, by the way, I work with Ricky Rocket and the tribute band Hairball and these other bands. So if you want to talk to, I'm like, fuck yeah. Can I talk to Ricky Rocket? That would be great. And she's
Yeah.
like, all right. So yeah, so that's how that,
Well, that's
and that, I
cool.
mean, shit, that interview is at like 40,000 views. I
Yeah.
mean, which for a relatively new channel is unbelievable.
That is a lot of that's a lot of views, dude, on video.
Yeah.
For real, you know. That's
Yep.
a lot of views. To me, if I get 1,000, that's a lot to me.
Sure. And that's, I mean, shit, you know, you start off like, I'm
Yeah.
like, hope I get 100.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, hey, I'm starting to get 300-400. Hope I get 500.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and it just, as you get followers and
Yeah.
and you know, I would just tell people you got to keep putting out content,
Yeah.
because if you do a couple of videos and then you take a month off,
No.
then you lose whatever momentum you have.
Yeah.
So I started off doing a video a week,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm probably doing 3,
Yeah.
sometimes even 4. Like sometimes I'll have a video out each day for a couple days, and then I'll
Yeah.
take a day off, and then I'll have another one. So anyway, and I know not everybody has that time.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I just, you know, you keep at it and
Yeah.
try to get better and try to figure out what works. And
All right. I was gonna ask you. So, do you sell all that stuff you got, or is that just for a show in the back?
I do sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much.
I know.
Like here, I'll even like
Uh-huh.
here, these totes here are full of them, and I have a bunch in my garage.
Yeah.
So like during the summer,
Mhm.
I'll have like garage sales, and I'll advertise them on the Facebook Marketplace, and just be like, hey, classic vintage
Yeah.
vintage frame music memorabilia.
So, do
And
you sell to anybody? I mean, Like if I wanted to
I
buy
don't,
something, you don't
I
ship
don't,
it, though.
I haven't started shipping
Yeah,
because I mean, the frames are cool, but they're not like super, they're
yeah,
cheap frames. They look nice, but if I shipped them, I'd be like, fuck,
yeah,
I mean, I suppose I could really bundle them up but then, so I just haven't ventured into
yeah.
shipping.
I
I just
understand.
kind of do it locally.
I understand. Yeah, it'd be a pain in the ass probably shipping them. I was thinking
And
that.
and I'd probably have to charge like, because you boxes and wrapping, and it would just
Yeah,
take, so anyway,
yeah,
I don't want to be a greedy bastard. Like I try to,
yeah,
so, I try to, like, I try to
yeah,
make $5
yeah,
on item, I don't want to screw anybody over, but you try to make a few bucks.
yeah. So, so are you retired or do you still
Yeah, I
work?
retired. Well, no, I retired out of the
Mm.
military
Wow.
in 2015. Then I was teaching, and I taught for 12 years, and I stopped teaching in 2023.
Yeah,
And now I work, I coach, I train little kids at a basketball academy.
yeah,
And but it's not really full time. I kind of live off, I get a little bit of money from the military.
uh-huh,
I make a little bit of money coaching. I make a little bit of money selling all that music stuff
yeah,
on the side. And then I'm finally, I don't make very much, but I make a little bit of money on YouTube.
yeah.
And I'll be honest, I mean, I'm hoping to turn, the channel into,
It will.
I'm going to start a Patreon, and if people want to support it,
Yeah,
they can do different things, but
yeah.
so
Because I know super chats, they take a little bit YouTube, but I usually
yeah.
I got memberships on my gaming channel, and
Yep.
people super chat me. But I
Yeah.
think if I get to a point, I might start a Patreon too on my gaming channel. But I started this channel, I was like, dude, I'm gonna start a channel and I'm just gonna talk to whoever, like we're sitting
Yeah.
down at a picnic, sitting on
Yep.
the tailgate of a vehicle. That's why
Yeah.
I didn't, I've got people on here that are content creators. Oh, you're all right. I've interviewed people with fellow content creators, friends of mine. I talked to one guy. He's was ranked second nationally in a beard competition. One of my friends. I've
In
hit
a
him
what?
up. Beard, the prettiest beard,
Beard?
national.
shit.
Yeah, so he ranked second nationally in his beard competition.
Huh?
I got one friend I interviewed on this channel that's a paranormal investigator.
Right?
And then I got another
Wow.
newly friend that's got a cryptid podcast. Had a Bigfoot encounter when he was a kid, and he
Yeah.
interviews people and stuff.
Yeah.
So, this channel here, I didn't direct it at one specific subject.
Right.
I just
I mean, I think, shit, I don't even have cable TV anymore.
yeah,
I just watch YouTube.
me too.
And I watch YouTube, and I'll watch, I mean, I'll be on X, like if I want to hear about politics,
Yeah,
you can find all these content creators. So I just think YouTube's kind of the way I go now. And so
yeah,
it's no surprise that there's like all these channels
yeah,
springing up. Fucking everybody's starting a
yeah.
podcast with,
Everybody.
I mean, shit, why not?
Yeah,
If it works, if it can, but I also think, like, if you start the podcast going, okay, I'm going to do this because I need to make money or I need to be
no.
successful, that's the wrong. Do something that you're passionate about,
Yeah,
that you don't care if you make money. And then if
yeah,
you do, great.
yeah,
But if that's the only reason you're doing it,
yeah,
I never thought there would be any, and like I said, I'm not making much money on
yeah,
YouTube, but I never thought I would make any, I never thought I would get monetized. And then when you hit 1,000 followers, it's like, hey, you qualify to be
yeah,
monetized. I'm like, oh, fuck.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So, you make a little bit here and there, and then, of course, you start going, well, maybe if I do this, or maybe if I do more stuff, maybe I could get to the point
yeah.
where you can make a little bit of money, but
Yeah, yeah,
I don't.
exactly. Because if you come into it thinking that you're going to get rich and quit your job, which you might eventually. You might get lucky and
Sure.
do it. But
Sure.
I mean, I got a good friend of mine. I'm not going to mention any names. He had a friend that he would game with. The dude's got 150,000 subs right now. The dude's bringing in 15K just to, from AdSense. That ain't counting, other stuff he gets. So
Right.
I mean, there's a way that you can do it. And I think me personally, I started this channel just to talk to people. I used to be a salesman. I used to love talk to people, and I don't get out no more because of my health. I don't work.
Yeah.
And when I started my other channel, Ash Shazam, the gaming channel, I gamer, I love gaming.
Yeah.
And I'll tell everybody, dude, it's better to smoke than crack. You know what I mean? So that's why, but it's fucking smoking meth and crack. So I'm a gamer, but I started this channel, like I said, just to talk to people, and I enjoy it fascinates me, with how other people live and what they do. But I was gonna ask you this, Anthony. I won't keep you much longer, and I'll wrap it up.
All right.
What do you see the future for your channel? I mean, what would you like? Hey, there's the star right there.
There's Charlie.
There's Charlie.
So there's another reason that the channel is doing really well is because Charlie always shows her 8 boobies on the
Charlie.
channel. I don't know if you know how I got Charlie. I was teaching. And I had to put my old dog down. And I was telling my students about this, and 2 of the students were teenage twin sisters, and their mom happened to be a dog breeder. And they went and told their mom, they're like, Mr. Bryant had to put his dog down, and Charlie was just about being used as a breeding dog, and they were gonna have to find a home for her anyway. So they gave her to me, a purebred golden retriever. This family at the school that I taught at, just unreal. So
I remember Charlie. Didn't Charlie have puppies or something a while back?
Charlie had puppies, and then she went and lived at another place, and then they gave me a different dog, Ridley, for a little while.
I remember Ridley.
But now she's done being bred, so now she's here full time. But
is she gonna have any more puppies?
No, she's done.
She's done.
But and I love it when she comes on in the videos, and she's to become like the channel mascot. She's in the theme song.
It
mentions cool Charlie. So
a lot of people. I got a lot of friends that use that AI songs. They got their own songs and stuff. I haven't done it yet.
I don't even know how to do it. Like somebody who watches the channel created it and sent it to me, and I was like, fucking A, that's awesome. Because actually some of the guys that are on the channel are musicians. I just put out a video. They recorded a rat cover. And they were gonna make a theme song, but then this guy gave me the one that I currently use. So then they were like, that's good enough. So anyway,
that's a cool song, though. It really is. It's
pretty decent.
That's just like all my logos and stuff. I got a friend from California. We've been friends about almost 5 years. He does all my emojis and
no shit.
And he's done it for other people, content creators. They got 140,000 subs to 10,000. He's just friends with. He's a good friend, and But it's good to have you meet a lot of good people, man. I got a lot of friends that are content creators and cool people and and stuff like that. And like when y'all get the round table, when y'all get talking and you get talking about jack off jokes and stuff, and shit. You give them shit about the lotion,
right? And every now and then somebody will be in the comments and be like, "Grow up" or whatever. But I'm like, I know when it's time to be professional. I don't talk that way at work. But if you're going to be talking about 80s rock, you might as well bring out your 80s dude, so.
I mean, that's all it was about, is humping and pumping
back
then,
Hell yeah.
It was. But I think you got to wait so many seconds before you say the F word. I know I do on my other channel.
Yeah. Like you can't say it right away at the beginning.
Yeah.
Wait like 7 seconds.
I think it's 7 seconds, something like that. But I'll put on this video, I'll put the link to your channel in there, because anybody that's content creator I talk to. But is there anything you want to say before I wrap it up?
Well, I mean, first thank you
Yeah.
for always, man. I mean, we've been chatting on the
Yeah.
video, so I appreciate your support, and it
No
that
problem.
is awesome. So, yeah, I mean, check out the channel, and if you like hair metal and shit, hopefully. And I know you asked like what the goal was for the
Yeah.
future. I mean, you know, hopefully the goal is to. I love coaching basketball, but I would like it to grow to the point where I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I don't have to coach. I can do it because I want to.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just gonna try to keep getting better, and I'm hosting Hair Metal Mansion, and hopefully just I just want to keep getting
Yeah.
more of my old rock star heroes on the channel, and because if you would have told me a couple years ago that I'd be interviewing Ricky Rocket
Oh man.
and people from Great White and Rocks Gang, I would have said, yeah, right, whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I
Man.
mean, I'm just glad it's where it's at, and hopefully it keeps getting bigger.
Well, you know about a lot about hair metal, dude. I wouldn't know what to say to a lot of them dudes. I'd be fanboying. Rocks Gang. I used to love them too. A great one.
There was times, especially when I first started doing interviews,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, don't
Yeah.
fucking don't be
Yeah.
all nervous, don't
Yeah.
fanboy, don't
Yeah.
just sit and say, man, I love your music.
Yeah.
I was like, and now it's getting easier because I've
Yeah.
done quite a few of them. But yeah, right away, the first
Yeah.
time, the first interview I did was with Mike from Steelheart.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I saw his name pop up on the Zoom thing, all of a sudden it was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
there he is. I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh
Anyway.
man, yeah, After a while, you get like I had a friend of mine. Even though that I've had a channel almost 3 years, a gaming channel. She's like, on your podcast, I could tell you're getting a little bit better. I mean, I only got like
Yeah.
12 videos out, and I
Yep.
mean, it's but like I said, I just want to get on here and just like fucking kicking it, talking
Yeah.
about whatever. That's why I called it the Boom Boom Room. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever watched Life with Eddie Murphy. You ever watched
Oh
that
yeah.
movie?
Shit.
That's
Yeah.
where I got the name from, the
Oh
Boom
no.
Boom Room. Yeah.
Right. Right.
When he was in jail, and
That's
he
right.
said, "Man, I don't want to hear about no fucking Boom Boom Room." He said they
Right.
was thinking about partying, not being in there. So
Right.
yeah, that's where I
Right.
got it from. But no, man,
So,
Anthony, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say sometimes I wonder if naming my channel the Hair Metal Guru has
Yeah,
been a negative. I mean, it's done awesome, but
yeah,
I'm sure there are some rock stars
uh-huh.
who are like, I don't want to be associated with the term hair metal.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there's times, but I'm kind of stuck with it now, and I've grown to love it. But
Yeah,
what?
I mean, what did they like? What term did they want to be called? The ones that,
Probably just like rock. We're just a rock and roll band, and
yeah,
I think
yeah,
the glam metal used to be, but
yeah,
I mean, there was a period where hair metal was really considered derogatory.
yeah,
But now, like there's Hair Nation, and I think more bands are kind of going fuck it,
yeah,
like it's become, we've kind of taken it back and taken the negative away from it. But
yeah,
I just know there are still some guys who hate that term.
yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. They bought. No, I got a friend that his channel's called Guru Gaming.
oh yeah,
He's from New Zealand. He's a good guy. I've been knowing him about 4 years. But yeah, the hair metal guru, it's catchy though. I mean, it's
yeah,
catchy. And
yep.
believe me, man, you're going to believe me. You're going to keep going up because you got a great channel. What's the next video before we leave? What's your next
Uh,
video coming out? What do you got in store
Shit.
for us?
Well, I think in the next couple days I do this series called 10 Things I Think I
Yeah.
Think. And I think it's going to be the one on poison.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm excited about that because I did the Ricky Rocket interview not too long ago. So, and poison is, I mean, shoot, when you think hair metal, most
Yeah.
people think poison.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the next big video that's coming out. And I'm starting to do more reviews and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think poison, and I have so many videos I need to get edited. So there's one coming up on things that are things in hair metal that I hate.
Yeah.
Like rock stars who piss us off.
Yeah.
So, and there's a video coming up about grunge, and
Yeah.
there's one coming up about our favorite videos in the hair metal scene. So a lot of stuff coming
We
up
got
on
a
the channel.
lot coming up. All right, then I'm going to end the video, but I'll keep you in the lobby. All right. Hey,
All right, Matt.
everybody out there, I appreciate you guys watching this video, and don't forget to check out the Hair Metal Guru. His channel's on YouTube, guys. Go over there, check it out if you like hair metal, and sub to him. But until next time, everyone out there, peace out.